Gemini, hi, great to see you for your Gemini June 2020 reading, and hi also to the subscribers. Great to see you. We have great fun here, don't we? Well, I'm going to use the Thoth tarot deck this month. Now, I like this deck. It's got a lot of spiritual and esoteric imagery in it, so I might use this pen to point out a few of the interesting things that pop up to me during the period of the time there. Do you know, a lot of people ask me questions about myself, and so I thought I might, I'll give you some of the questions. Let's have a look. While I pull these cards for you. Now, what's this one? Can't ask that. Do you have a day job? No, I don't have a day job, and I don't have a night job. I do spiritual work only. And healing. Well, when I say I do healing, I am the instrument through which the healing occurs. It's not me. In fact, I take no credit for any of this. I am the radio receiver that picks up the signal from what comes from spirit and from the worlds beyond, which are inhabited by other centers of consciousness. Now, there's a question here, do I have any hobbies? Well, the answer is outside of this, evolutionary biology, physics, philosophy. And I can tell you that the physicists and philosophers, or biologists or scientists at all, and I'm right into science, who tell you that's the wheel of fortune, who tell you that there is no life after death and that there is no divinity, I can tell you they're wrong. They're just wrong. And I've read all the stuff, and it's all very interesting, but it's just wrong. I know it to be so, as do plenty of other people around the world, and as have people done so for thousands and thousands of years. I think we can get the time when we get caught up with our own self-important education about things. Let's pull this one first. That's the Three of Wands. When did you first become clairvoyant? Look, I've always been clairvoyant from birth. I just knew things when I was a child. I would talk to trees. Some trees I liked and they liked me. Other trees I stayed away from because they didn't like me. I always had the gift, if you like, and it was developed substantially by a woman when I was a student who was much older than I was. I suppose you'd call her a witch in some respects, or a wise woman, really is more the case. But then, about 27 or 28 years ago, the woman that I loved, and who was my everything, she died suddenly. I won't go into the details now, other than to say that 6 months later I was feeling very, enveloped in grief, and I was meditating, or in a trance I suppose, and it was as if a pair of very dark sunglasses were taken away from my eyes, and I could see for the first time what reality really was. And I've seen it ever since. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. I was lucky, is in short. I was a lucky person, but what has been made known to me is that that's the sun in the center, incidentally. Why I have that is for the good of other people. Do I have a day job? No, I don't have a day job. Or a night job. This is all I do. Do I have children? I won't say much about. I am a father, and I have more than one child. What else is interesting there, or something that I can really talk about? Do I have children? Look, I think that's probably about enough out of these questions. That's good to be talking about today. I'll say this though, that when I received the gift of clairvoyance, of healing and discerning spirits, the reason why I have had this given to me, I suppose, is Well, it's been said and it's been written by people for thousands of years. It is to make other people feel good. There's the Hermit. And finally, why do I do these YouTube videos? Why does a sapling grow upwards? It's because it is in its nature, and it is because being, not that being, but being itself requires it to be so. And so there are things in these readings that I do for you that will have something to say for you at the time. There's the devil. Anyway, enough talking about me. Let's now talk about you and see what there is in store for you this month. Okay, Gemini, let's have a look at this first card here. The Wheel of Fortune. Gee, look, you've got some great things happening here. The Wheel of Fortune, the Sun, then this most interestingly depicted devil card, the Hermit down here, and of course there's Three of Wands. But let's look at this card here first, Fortune. Now, the first thing that we can see is it is Major Arcana number 10. That X is the Roman numeral for 10, as you would know. And look at this, there are 10 spokes in the wheel. The wheel is spinning counterclockwise, and it's creating 10 energy vortexes. You see this thing here? There's one, there's another one, there's another one, there's another one there. Those 10 energy vortexes are being created by the spinning wheel. Really, this wheel is a metaphor for how the universe works. Now, what else might be interesting to me from here? Well, there's an attribution of the planet Jupiter to this card. And I would agree with that, because I think that there is a great degree of good fortune surrounding this, and it says that there is going to be good fortune for you in your life. In fact, in many respects, if miracles aren't happening in your life in the near future, something is definitely wrong. Now, you might ask yourself, what is this thing here? This is an ancient biblical Hebrew letter, which is called Kaf. K-A-P-H, and that means palm of the hand or fist, or things to do with the hand there. And so what we can say is that it is the palm of the hand which turns the wheel, and therefore, in a sense, you really do create your own destiny. When you come into life, you have a life's purpose. And then the challenge is to use your free will to ensure that you stay close to and on top of your life's purpose and not to deviate from it. But this is saying, therefore, that the destiny, your destiny in life, is as a result of your wheel on the hand. Now, of course, Kaf, the biblical letter there, meaning in this respect palm, I suppose, also contains our destiny as told in palmistry. And certainly I've seen things in people's palms. I see a lot of spiritual energy coming through the palm. And for me, it can very well be an imprint of the life path itself. Now, Jupiter, of course, is associated with growth, expansion, and good luck, and it is the great benefic in astrology. Now, there's a couple of other things here that I think are interesting before we pull out, and that is, I noticed this, there's a 5-pointed stars here. These 5-pointed stars, well, every woman and every man is a star. The stars are distorted, I think, to show your uniqueness. Some stars are dark, others bright, representing different fortunes, but there is a balance to them, implying harmony in the universe. Now, here is a 10-pointed star, and this is also reflected in this star which is in the middle of the wheel here. As above, so below. Now, you have, I'm sure, heard that expression before, and you probably have an idea as to what it means. Well, for me, it means that, look, everything that is material emanates from out of the spiritual, and activity occurs in the astral plane and beyond, past the 3 veils of negative existence. and they are reflected in how things play out in the universe. That is also to say that everything that happens is not always the result of cause and effect, but there are sometimes phenomena which are naturally to be regarded as being outside of that chain of cause and effect, such as healings, miracles, the ability to foretell the future, the ability to discern spirits, for example. Now, 10 is associated with a sense of completion and fulfillment. In the esoteric number system, the last number of major importance really is the number 10. Now, there are 3 symbols on the wheel. Look, these symbols for me really are alchemical in nature, and I don't really want to go into alchemy at the moment. I think that might just take us down some foxholes which are really too detailed for such a brief discussion such as this. So just forgive it at the moment. But I think what one can also say is that one might also look at the number 3. There's one coming down the wheel, one going up, and one sitting up as a sphinx on the top there. One could, in an Eastern sense, in Hinduism, also look at these as being the 3 gunas, right? The 3 gunas that we need to deal with in everyday life. So what else can we say to it? Well, this is really a card for me of good fortune for you. It really has to be said that it is. I think that it represents that an unexpected change in your life is coming, which is going to be favorable, but it may not necessarily seem that way at first. Yeah. I think that you should be ready to act on any unexpected opportunities that arise at the moment. And in a sense, I think that this is really reminding you to go with the flow of life and to let good fortune come your way. Don't try to hang on to the status quo, but let change bring about new things. Yes, look, because when times are good, enjoy them, but do not become complacent, because things can change. When times are challenging, do not be discouraged, because even when things seem their worst, it simply suggests that things can only get better. Stay optimistic and have faith in the universe that it will take care of the situation in the best way possible. Change is about to happen, and soon. You may need to alter your present course, move things in a different direction, or turn things around to ensure that you are creating the right outcomes in your life. Now, if you struggle against the flow of life, you can become like this one, struggling against the ascent of the wheel, or even one of those that's crushed beneath it. Because despite the ebb and flow of the wheel, the center is never going to move or to be shaken. And so, despite what difficulties there may be around you, if you stay centered to your truth, then you will get through any hardships at all. Now, this is interesting here. Let's have a look at the Hermit. What do you have to say today to my Gemini friend here? Well, a very interesting depiction of him. The first thing I'll say here is there is an attribution of Virgo to the card, and this biblical letter that's here in the Hebrew is Yod. Now, Yod is the first letter of the sacred tetragrammaton, Yod-He, Vav-He, or YHVH, or Yahweh, meaning God, as is depicted in the name that came up in the book of Exodus in any event. But of course we don't know how to pronounce it because there were no vowel pointers in the Hebrew language as it came down to us, so people are assuming that it is said Yahweh. But in any event, the letter Yod is the foundation of all the other letters of the Hebrew alphabet, which are really just kind of combinations to it. In this sense, I think the Hermit is masculine, although in terms of his astrological attribution of Virgo, it also has a feminine side. Because Virgo is associated with the body, health, personal development, and it is ruled by Mercury, which is also exalted in Virgo. Now look at all this wheat in the background here. You can see all the wheat that's growing here. This links it in agriculture. Virgo, growth of wheat equals the growth of inner wisdom. So you are surrounded by the wisdom of your insights, which are probably at this time being gained by inner contemplation. Now this head that he has here is really the head of an ibis. And the ibis was associated with the god Thoth in Egyptian mythology, and Thoth is the god of the written word. Now he's holding, let's have a look, he's really got a sort of a diamond lantern that he's holding here. See this thing here, it's a depiction, it's difficult to make out, but this is a symbol, I think, of the unified Godhead. And this then is directed or descends into you. It descends into you. And in a similar way in which the Lord Krishna or the Christ consciousness becomes manifested in people. Now the sun is also looking like it's in this lantern here, and it's covering the genitalia of this hermit. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 wavy and 8 straight lines which are coming from that lantern. Now the number 8 links it with an area of divine emanation prior to the emergence of space and matter from out of spirit, and that area has an association with Mercury. So there's this association with Mercury, which is the ruler and is exalted in Virgo as well. So again, it ties back into this rulership of Virgo. Now the yellow rays from the lantern, one really energizes this, what do you call a single sperm? Well, I'll just call it a sperm. So it energizes this sperm, which is down here in this left-hand corner. Another energizes the apex of this pyramid, which is up here. A third illuminates this three-headed dog, which was known as Cerberus in mythology. But this three-headed dog, Cerberus, really represents our lower nature. And it represents also the dead phallus after ejaculation. And the fourth ray, I suppose, it points upwards towards this Orphic egg, which is a fertilized egg with all the potential of life inside. And so we have a completed cycle. The sperm is the wand of the hermit representing the potential of life. The fetus in the sperm goes back to old beliefs that a sperm contained a tiny, complete human in there, which was called a homunculus, I think. And Cerberus has a head looking in different directions, and they represent the three qualities of the lower self. And he's been tamed by the head, tamed by the hermit, is what I think there. Well, what does all this mean? This is all very interesting. I think what's also interesting about him is the number 9, is that it always returns in on itself. 9 3s are 27, 2 and 7 are 9, 9 4s are 36, 3 and 6 are 9. I think this is about you getting away from a situation in order to get a better insight into it. Getting illumination, that's the lamp, from an insight into a situation in which you were previously in the dark. Spending some time on your own, perhaps withdrawing into your still inner center to gain insight into yourself. A time perhaps for soul searching as to what may give your life the most meaning. And I think certainly it's going to be a time when you start to think about how you can tap into that untapped wisdom of yours. Now here's another fantastic card. The sun, well, freedom, success, and increased creativity. I think what's important here, let's have a look at some of the imagery on it, because sometimes it can really pull some things up for us. The first things to have a look at is that, of course, it's closely associated astrologically with the sun and the sun gods, and here's a denotion of the sun here, and Ra, the ancient Egyptian sun god. Now here's another one of those interesting ancient biblical Hebrew letters. This one is Reish, and it means the head. In the head are the higher chakra centers, and when you go through the process of trying to become initiated spiritually, to begin to go into the other realms and to become illuminated so as to reach a 1,000-petaled lotus, which this thing represents here, then that initiation which gives rise to the 1,000-petaled lotus can have, that moment of realization can have the brightness of the sun. So the Hebrew association is the revelation of the inner light of the head centers that illuminates your spiritual path. Now you have an outer sun expressed through your personality, and an inner sun, the light of God, which is meditated upon. Now I think a couple of other interesting things here are, we can say that there is a, now this is interesting for you, Gemini, isn't it? You've got two children here. That would be something you'd be familiar with, almost twins really. A male child with red wings symbolizing fire, a female child with yellow wings representing air, and the shape of the wings are those of a butterfly, which shows freedom of the soul. Now compared with a card called the Hanged Man, because I notice that these kids have got their legs crossed. The Hanged Man has his legs crossed, but these children have their arms free. The Hanged Man doesn't. So you have great freedom here. You've got the ability to move things forward. Now look at these rays that are coming out from here. These rays of the sun which are pushing out are these 12 big sun rays coming out. And around the edges of it, you'll see the signs of the zodiac going around the side here. Well, they split the signs of the zodiac and they go on to illuminate the universe. In here, you'll see 3 sections, small rays dividing each of these larger sections into 3. Well, they are the decans of each of the signs. Now in you, yours is not here because of, well, it's here in reality, of course, but for the purposes of the illustration, it's not here, so you can get this other thing in. This is saying that you also have 3 decans to yourself, don't you? You've really got, what would I say, is May the 21st to the 31st. Now, Mercury is your ruler, but your sub-ruler in that first decan is Jupiter. So people in that time period will have a lot of Sagittarius in them. The second decan of Gemini would be the 1st to the 10th of June, and the sub-ruler is Mars, and so there'd be a lot of Aries quality associated with that. And the third is that of what would it be? Well, the 10 days after, from the 11th of June, that decan is, the sub-ruler is the Sun. So you'll have a lot of Leo influence in you there. Now, there's nothing much to say about, interesting about these things, because it's alchemical again, these 2 discs that they're dancing on. This green mound, you might ask yourself, what is the purpose of the green mound? Well, really what it is it's fertility in your life, growth and abundance. Now, biblically, these symbols heightened spiritual states, and that is what is implied here, I think. There's also a rainbow effect around the exterior of the zodiac here, where it's a number of colors are coming up into it there around those zodiac signs, and that indicates the presence of water. Now, water in Greek mythology is connected to the raising of consciousness. John the Baptist baptized in water, And, well, I don't think we need to go anything further than that. Well, what can we say this means for you? Well, really, the sun is the source of all life and represents success and abundance, and this is going to follow you in your life at the present time. This energy is also what will get you through tough times and will help you succeed. You're also in a position where you can share your highest qualities with others. Now be confident in who you are and what you stand for. The sun is illuminating your path ahead and will give you the energy to move forward after what I think has been something of a trying time for you, hasn't it? But embrace your goals and give it everything you've got. If you have been having a difficult time, the sun brings you the message that things are going to get better, and you will find the strength and positivity to get through this period. You know that the rain clouds will soon give way to the rays of the sun, and you will feel warmed to the soul again. This card, I think, because of the children here, also implies simplicity. This means that looking for the simple things in life can bring you immense happiness just by following your inner child and not allowing the layers of negativity that have perhaps been built up over the course of your life to dominate you. When the sun shines, as it is now, you find new ways of resolving problems, new perspectives, and fresh viewpoints. You see things more clearly and are able to objectively consider obstacles and difficulties. You have the energy you need to throw yourself into life and to dynamically deal with life's situations. And as if to really just bring that message home, here we have the Three of Wands, and this Three of Wands, here we have three wands crossed in the center and have lotus blossoms that are opened up and receptive. There are 10 straight and 10 curved flames in the background. Well, what can we say here? I think it's very much the case that you are going to find that you now have the direction that you need to push things forward. The astrology of this card, incidentally, is the sun in Aries, which is springtime, renewal, birth, creation. The sun is also exalted in Aries, and so this placement is very favorable. And this plays out in the Three of Wands in that the energy, enthusiasm, and magnetism of the sun here, and as we saw before, pours through the active, optimistic, and enterprising Aries, leading to great work and life opportunities if you are connected to your highest good. It's important for you to operate from a place of integrity before making decisions at the moment, and making sure that you have clarity in mind and heart before acting in order to bring about the best results. And unless you do have clarity at this time, then don't act. So if you have clarity, this is a great time to put your ideas into plan. Now, if you are having difficulty moving forward with a plan for your life, make a list of your virtues, your positive trait. Now, traits, open your heart like the lotus blossoms here. Open your heart up and see what you connect with, using your skills constructively in the world. That's a reflection of your highest good. Now, this could relate to work in terms of your day job or your hobbies, charity work, community work, spiritual studies, teaching, or even with respect to friendships. Behaving openly and honestly with others, being a good listener, and giving advice where appropriate from your highest perspective. I think this can also talk of success of a recent project after what has been some initial difficulties getting something off the ground. Yeah. Well, let's have a look at the Devil card, because the Devil is good fun. Let's have a look at you, Devil. There you are. Okay, now this represents Well, for me, this really represents the material energy, matter in its most creative form, and looking at its astrological associations, you'll be able to see how I have arrived at that idea. Now, I think what we can say is that, first of all, we have an association here on the card with the sign of Capricorn. Well, and there's a goat there as well, so that's probably not unusual. But I am getting a lot of Capricorn up out of this, and I'll come into why as we go along. We have here another one of these biblical Hebrew letters. This one here is Ayin, which means eye. And here we have this third eye on top of the image of the devil. Now, this card in this deck, I think, represents tunnel vision. This guy is one who has one point in his direction. He's really got one thing that he's focused on, and this is usually a material goal, although not necessarily always, but usually it is. Now, it can relate to career or ambition, and fighting for and defending oneself and looking out for one's own best interests. So this is certainly not a negative card to receive whatsoever. I think it implies that you can accomplish a lot if you are focused in your life, because this devil is not distracted by other things or possibilities, and he's very much focused on the task at hand. Now, as I say, I get a lot from this attribution here of Capricorn. Well, Capricorn is the sign of business, career, worldly success, and social standing, and Capricorns are usually hard workers and high achievers, and like the mountain goat, they are constantly climbing. Now, the thing with Capricorn is that Saturn rules Capricorn, and Mars is exalted in Capricorn, which means it's really, really going along fine. It's really strong. Now, Mars governs your sex drive and your creative energy. So this card has a very strong link to the material side of life and self-ambition. Saturn is also the planet of boundaries and limitations, time, and the cycles of life and death. I think that there is, as a result of this, a lot of karma, which is coming through for me, for you here. There's a lot of karmic reward coming. Now, Capricorn is also opposite Cancer on the zodiac wheel. Capricorn, well, in Capricorn we have the winter solstice, don't we, in the northern hemisphere, and in Capricorn and in Cancer we have the summer solstice in the northern hemisphere. And in Capricorn the days also start to become longer and the sun is reborn. And this is borne out in the resurrection of the Christ figure, or the birthday. So the birthday of the 25th of December is not unexpected for those deities which have a great association with the sun, or with which the sun is connected, such as the Christ figure, such as the Roman Sol Invictus, that is the unconquerable sun, such as the Iranian Mithra, such as the Greek Dionysus, and the list goes on, people who had birthdays on the 25th of December. So there's a strong link to Christ consciousness and to Krishna consciousness in this card through its association with that sun figure. Now, the spiral horns here on this figure, to me, they are the masculine energy and life forms, and the spirals kind of look like a DNA helix, don't they, or blueprint for life. And one might also see spiral galaxies. So when you tap into the creative power of the devil, you are tapping into the energy of life itself. Now there is the wand here, which is the wand of the chief adept, in front of this Pan figure, which I suppose is what the goat would be. There are two serpents here, 1, 2, and they symbolize sperm, and they wear the crowns of Upper and Lower Egypt, and therefore also represent the unification and harmonizations of opposites. Now, this tree trunk that you see coming through here, and these two spheres, well, they have the obvious connotation there, don't they? The tree trunk penetrates the rings of Saturn. You know how I said that Saturn was the ruler of Capricorn? Well, this comes in again. And the rings of Saturn, of course, are made from ice crystals. And so therefore we also have that female principle that's coming through there. So the female principle being penetrated by the male principle to produce life. There are 3 male figures in this one that are fighting a Minotaur. 4, what did I say? 3 male figures there, 4 female figures here. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pairs of chromosomes in each of them. So there's 10 chromosomes in each of them. The symbolism of this devil card then is where we have the process of creation repeated many times, representing the paradox, I suppose, of integrating the worldly and spiritual life of the seeker after spiritual knowledge. What can we say further about it? An extremely interesting card, I think. Great energy here. Look, the closer you get to your own truth, the more you see contradiction. This brings about the need to see life in a different way. And I think what this energy is saying is it's teaching you to celebrate all aspects of life, but not to become a slave to its pleasures. This card can represent those aspects of yourself that you hide away and are afraid to come to terms with, as well as those things other people may not like. Now, historically, the devil, for example, represents something that society was afraid of. Outward appearances, though, can, like the material world, be deceiving, and therefore we may have people around us that are reflecting a part of ourself that we find difficult to accept. And the first stage of overcoming this shadow part of yourself is by acceptance in order to transcend it. You're then in a better position to show tolerance to others and come to a greater understanding of all the aspects of yourself. I wouldn't be concerned about any inherent contradictions in your nature, though. It could be that you feel restricted or imprisoned by life or a situation that appears out of your control, but I think you have far more influence over the situation than you think. You need to look out for addictions and attachments that are stopping you from enjoying your life to the full. I think also this is saying that you need to accept that you have an ambitious side and that you can use it in a positive way. The lesson being our attachment to it and being able to see it for what it is. We usually have a strong desire, and you will at this time have a strong desire to win, compete, and improve. I think there's a chance here that you could be over-investing in the material side of your life to the neglect of other matters. And there needs to be a recognition of finding the balance between the material and the spiritual life in your moment. And as you might probably gather from this quite stark imagery here, it's also the case, I think, that you will likely find that you are sexually attracted to someone in your life, whether or not you act upon it. This might also be something which just plays out in fantasy, for example. That's the way it is for you this month.
Well, you were fantastic in that reading, as you always are. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did providing it to you. Do you know, I love doing these readings for you, and I'm glad that you get so much out of it. Now, make sure to check out the description if you'd like to have a personal reading, and just let me say this. You are a legend, and I look forward to seeing you again next month. But until then, it's bye for now.